Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon to the witnesses and all of the members. I agree with Mr. Pallone that we need to try to work together to come up with an energy plan for the future of America. I think it needs to be a common sense, affordable, reliable, high quality energy plan. I have to tell you that I don't think it should copy the California policies because my utility companies here in Arizona say that at certain times of the year, California actually pays Arizona utilities to take their energy off of their hands. And I don't think that's probably a very good plan for the Californians. I do, Mr. Chairman, want to ask unanimous consent that an article mentioned by Morgan Griffith earlier be entered into the record. It is a New York Times, December 6, 2019 article entitled, "Can a Coal Town Reinvest Itself?"
I thought I had, by unanimous consent, already entered that into the record.
Oh, fantastic. Mr. Griffith had texted me and didn't know if it was done or not. So thank you. I have a question.
Just ma'am, for a moment, let me just take another stab at it. Hearing no objections, so ordered. The latest request for the entering into the record of the New York Times article.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question for Mr. Powell. Mr. Powell, the Center for Negative Carbon Emissions at Arizona State University is currently working on carbon removal technologies, particularly direct air capture under the direction of Klaus Lochner. Do you know if what we can do to increase the efforts and research on that technology and use of that technology, do you think it's being financed enough?
Thank you so much for that question, Congresswoman, and thank you for your attention to this really important, relatively new technology. Everyone should remember that when we say net zero, that means that folks might still be emitting as long as they have a corresponding offset or something netting out those emissions and pulling it back out of the atmosphere. And that's what these technologies like direct air capture or broader carbon dioxide removal technologies could do. They could give us a lot of flexibility, and they could also, in the far future, if we decide there's just too much CO2 in the atmosphere, maybe we might decide to pull more out just as a public service kind of a thing. And so it's very, very important. A lot of university scale research is done at this stage. I was very excited to see in the Energy Act of 2020 a major new program to demonstrate these technologies at scale was authorized in that bill. This would be the real start of a big federal program to actually demonstrate it. There's a prize concept which would be conducted at the Environmental Protection Agency for breakthrough technologies in this space, and then there would be a more traditional demonstration program at the Department of Energy. Of course, the authorizing legislation is only the first step, and now your colleagues on the Appropriations Committee actually have to fund that research at DOE and that prize at EPA, and I think significantly more can be done in this space. A number of utilities who have made net zero commitments seem to be relying on the existence of a serious amount of this technology 30 or 40 years from now. I know Duke Energy, for example, in some of their modeling has indicated they might like to buy as much as 8 million tons a year. That's a really significant market signal to innovators in this space, but that's a market signal far in the future. So we need to invest in the R&D along the way to make sure that that's actually going to be available when they want to start buying that in the future.
Well, thank you, Mr. Powell. That sounds like something maybe the Democrats and Republicans can agree upon as part of the energy mix. And so I hope we can. Mr. Powell, I have another question for you. My understanding is that the federal government is required to purchase 7.5% of its energy from renewable sources, but right now hydroelectric power isn't included as a renewable energy source. And I know Representative Schreier talked about all the hydroelectric power in her state. Why shouldn't hydroelectric power be included as a renewable energy source? It seems counterintuitive to me, and do you think it should be?
That's a great question. It absolutely should be. And to take a bigger step back, it's unclear to me why that requirement is only renewable resources. If what we care about is low carbon energy, I don't see why that wouldn't be a low carbon requirement for federal purchasing, not a renewable requirement. I was actually heartened to see, I believe one of the executive orders from the Biden administration actually proposed making that change, that it's going to be a carbon-free procurement as opposed to renewable procurement. Long way to go. I don't think that's been implemented yet, but I think that's a step in the right direction. And absolutely, large and existing hydropower should be part of that mix. It's right now, it's the second largest renewable resource in this country, and it's by far the most flexible renewable resource in this country. So it certainly should be included in procurements like that.
Thank you, Mr. Powell, and Mr. Chairman, I yield back.